Hallelujah. It's a beautiful day in Dallas. I just went swimming in the pool, and I wanted to talk about the fear of the Lord today. The fear of the Lord. So I went to a wedding yesterday, and the first time in my life, I missed the wedding. The wedding was at 6 o'clock. I showed up at 6:11, and the ceremony had already finished. And a dear mentor of mine named Don Pinto told me there's 3 times you can guarantee God's presence in your life. 1, the moment you're born. 2, the moment that you die. And 3, the moment that you get married. And I was so disappointed in myself that I missed one of those holy moments from my friend Arturo. And I was trying to process it and figure out, what can I learn from this? And the first thing is never be late to weddings. If it says 6 o'clock, be there. This is what I resolved. I'm going to be there 1 hour early. 1 hour early for every wedding moving forward, because I don't want to feel the same feelings. The second thing I learned is that we've created an idol out of weddings in our culture, and it was such a refreshing wedding to be at. And I'm wearing some trunks under here, so yeah, just not naked. So yeah, that'd be weird if I was just walking around without wearing some trunks. But so the second thing is that we created an idol out of weddings in our culture, and it says in the second commandment, there's 10 commandments. Everyone should know all 10 commandments in order, because Jesus said if you don't obey the commandments, and if you don't teach the commandments, you'll be called the least in the kingdom, in Matthew 5:19. So the second thing I learned is that we've created an idol out of weddings. This wedding was so refreshing. The ceremony was short, and then it was at my friend's parents' backyard, and he texted me a couple weeks before and said, "Hey, I'm getting married." And I was like, wow, that's awesome. I didn't even know you were engaged. But it was such a beautiful wedding, and it was so refreshing, because there's so much idolatry around weddings. So many people they get engaged, and then they spend a year or 6 months or however many months preparing a wedding, and they don't invest anything in their marriage. They invest nil in their marriage. So anyways, that's the second thing I learned. The third thing that I learned is that some people are going to miss the wedding feast of the Lamb. What does that mean? That means that judgment is real. Judgment is real, and we're either going to spend eternity in heaven or hell, and that depends on how we respond to God. And this is the thing. People will say, "Oh, like, do you think that God would send me to hell?" He doesn't send anyone to hell. That's where we're going. It says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whosoever believes in him," Jesus, "whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but shall have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son to condemn the world, but to save the world." Because we're already condemned in our sin. It says in Romans that sin leads to death. And if we live in sin, whether we know it or not, and if we haven't surrendered our life to Jesus, then when God looks at us, he sees sin. And the only way to be clean before God is to receive the sacrifice, to put our faith in the spotless sacrifice, which is Jesus. So I learned there's a parable that Jesus talks about with the 10 wise virgins, with the 5 wise virgins and the 5 unwise virgins, where there's 5 of them that have their oil ready for when Jesus returns at midnight, and the other ones aren't ready. And And I just had this fear of the Lord that my oil wasn't ready. I showed up late to this wedding, and I don't want to show up late to the wedding feast of the Lamb when Jesus returns, because he is going to return. He is going to return. There's going to be a day when our choice to choose him or not to choose him will end. There's time that's running out, and in a moment it will be too late if you don't surrender your life to God. And so those are the 3 things I learned. I'm never going to miss a wedding. Again, I'm going to show up an hour early. I am not going to make an idol out of my future wedding. I'm going to invest in my future marriage, and I am going to live in the fear of the Lord and not bow to the fear of man. So God bless you, and happy June 25th.